We wanted to track a really important labor story. Of course, we covered extensively the United Auto Worker negotiations with the Big Three, which netted a significant contract improvement for all of the workers there. That seems to have sparked quite a bit of momentum in terms of unionizing more auto workers around the country, including at foreign automakers. And the UAW's new president, Shawn Fain, very aggressively going after these new organizing drives. And one of the big places where they are laying their claim is in a Tennessee Volkswagen plant, which they've previously attempted to unionize this workforce, and it got voted down twice before, but they feel really good about their prospects this time around for a variety of reasons I'll get into. Put this up on the screen from Bloomberg. Headline here, how the UAW is winning over new plants, starting with Volkswagen. So this factory is actually voting right now on whether to become the only foreign commercial car maker that is unionized in the United States, would also be the first plant to join the UAW since that strike last fall that we covered so extensively. One of the members of the organizing committee, one of the workers there at the Tennessee factory, says, quote, "We're going to be the first domino to fall and encourage these other plants to get out there with us." As I referenced before, there were two prior attempts. Now, the South is notoriously difficult in terms of unionizing. They have right-to-work laws, quote-unquote right-to-work laws, and a general anti-union climate. There was a lot of sort of political involvement from the governor at the time, effectively threatening these workers that if they do decide to unionize, then the plant is going to be shut down. Now, that is illegal to do, but there was, of course, no accountability. So, this time around, they have gotten a supermajority of workers to sign the card indicating they would like to unionize. So that's significant. They really have made it a very local worker ground up movement to try to unionize this time. And I think the two other things I would point to here, why they feel so good about this, is that, number one, you have, as opposed to 2019 under Trump, you have a much more pro-union president, much more pro-union NLRB. So you've got a friendlier climate in terms of some of the, the decisions that could come from the NLRB in terms of unionizing. But the big thing is this momentum from UAW. You look at what they were able to achieve, and these workers are saying, hey, I'm doing literally the same job, and I'm not getting nearly what they're getting. So that's an incredibly powerful motivator as well. You've got some Republican politicians in Tennessee and in other states that UAW also has their eyes set on, really trying to trash this and undermine this effort. A Tennessee state senator said voting against the UAW is protecting Tennessee's values. In Alabama, the UAW is making inroads at a Hyundai plant. The governor there, Kay Ivey, has denounced the union as a threat from Detroit, warned that the Alabama model for economic success is under attack. And Shawn Fain, the president of UAW, replied to that, "She's damn right it is. It's under attack because workers are fed up with getting screwed." So.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting there.
It is actually, especially because so much of what's going on in the South. One of the things I'm really watching is how politics are changing down in the South and in the Sun Belt. We've had a huge population influx. The economies of these states are booming, manufacturing, but they're still controlled by older red state ideology, despite the fact that their voters have significantly changed. So, for example, this is happening in the state of Tennessee. Tennessee is not that many people. They have had a huge influx, specifically in the city of Nashville, the rich suburbs of Franklin, and others from California, from all over, New York, etc. The question now is that in the combination also with a lot of the economic growth are they going to stick to some of this, right to work policy and other things that they traditionally have? Now, for right now, it does seem like that is the direction. But with the change in voters, but also what I think is going to be a change in their economy. I mean, no offense, Georgia, you weren't exactly an economic powerhouse, but nowadays, you really are becoming one. Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, there's a ton of manufacturing that is down there from BMW, Toyota, and all these other, Volkswagen, et cetera. And they're going to have to grapple and kind of change with some of the new updates to their population and to their economies as well. So I think this is actually a preview of what I expect big fights in the Sun Belt article.
It's a real test case. Of whether or not, and it's very symbolic too, since the vote failed here twice. if they can pull it off, it really does show that it's a new day, that it's a new climate. The other factor I forgot to mention is just unions are way more popular than they used to be.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they're sort of at a historic high in terms of popularity and receptivity. I saw this quote, I was trying to find it specifically from a worker, but who said, you know, they looked at the UAW contract and they said, I want my life to be more like what they've got.
Yeah. That's right.
Nothing could be more powerful than seeing that model of success. And that is a 180 from what has been happening our entire lives with regard to the labor movement, where every contract is concessionary and they're having to take cuts and cuts and cuts. And so, yeah, rationally, if you're a worker, you look at that and you're like, this is risky. And they're telling me they're going to shut down the plant. And it's not even looking like they're getting that good of a deal over there. So why should I stick my neck out? Now that calculation has really flipped. UAW has their sight on, as I said, this Hyundai plant in Alabama. They also are looking at Tesla. I mean, they really want to make a push kind of across the board. And there's no place that's more important or more difficult to organize than these auto plants in the South, which specifically located in these states in part because of their anti-union politics. And they want to get away with paying their workers less and giving them less benefits, et cetera. More Perfect Union has been doing a characteristic great job covering this union drive. They spoke to a worker there named Robert about why he thinks this time is going to be different and why some of the intimidation tactics are not going to work this time around. Let's listen at what he had to say.
The loudest voices of the anti-unions, they keep trying to press this notion that if we unionize, Volkswagen's going to shut us down. They're going to close their factory. They're not going to pull it out just because 4,000 employees out of 600,000 want to be organized. Not to mention the fact that all of their other factories are organized. So the U.S. is a huge market for any auto manufacturer. They all want in this place. Really, it boils down to, if you have a bad union, it's bad leadership. It has nothing to do with the philosophy of unions or what unions can gain as a whole. So there's really not a really great meat to sink your teeth into when it comes to trying to tear the idea of a union apart. And so they use the old reliables, like, it's going to shut your union down.
The other thing to note here, Saagar, is Volkswagen, because they work with unions in other countries, I'm not going to say that they've been like, you know, open arms to the union drive. I'm sure the organizers on the ground could point to some nefarious dealings, but they have not been as aggressively anti-union as some other, you know, like Starbucks and Amazon and other corporate giants have been. The last thing, put this last element up on the screen, I referred to the anti-union climate and where this goes next. So after this vote, there's an organizing drive happening in that Alabama Hyundai plant, and lawmakers are really trying to go after any companies that would even be like receptive to unions. So they are working on a bill that would bar any sort of state incentives to companies that voluntarily recognize unions. So what this means is, you know, theoretically, it used to work more like this. Once you have a majority of workers in the bargaining unit who sign a card saying, yeah, I want to unionize, employers can say, okay, great. We voluntarily recognize it. That's it. You have a union, and not go through this drawn out, okay, now we have to vote, blah, blah, blah. And there's this battle going on at the workplace, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we got a majority here. They want to be in the union there. It's a done deal. So companies have that option. And Alabama lawmakers are effectively, not that a lot of companies avail themselves of that option, but Alabama lawmakers are trying to take that option off the table altogether. And you can imagine, Saagar, that at this point, if you do have a victory at Volkswagen after some of the other victories that we've seen, how companies may calculate that it's better for them to build goodwill for their employees if they see the writing on the wall that a union is definitely coming in, that the workers are almost definitely going to win, that they can avoid all of that, save the expense, and just voluntarily recognize the union move from there. Alabama trying to undermine that direction.
The other thing about unionization is, even if it's not successful, for example, Costco leadership put out this statement, which I thought was fantastic, where some Costco shop decided to unionize, and the executives put out a statement. They said, hey, you guys voted to unionize. Clearly, we're doing something wrong. And I want to hear what you guys want. And I want to make sure that all my employees in this entire country are so well taken care of, they don't feel like they have to do this. Now, I mean, obviously he's got an incentive to do so, but the mere act of it was enough for them to be like, okay, I guess we got to pay people more. I guess we got to pay people a lot more.
That's such an important point. It's such an important point because the rise of unionism doesn't just benefit those workers who happen to be in a union, which is still a piddly percentage of the American workforce. We've seen this in the auto industry. Other automakers, including Tesla,
Tesla jacked their rates,
had to increase their wages because they could see the writing on the wall. Amazon, after the Amazon labor union had that historic success on organizing the Staten Island warehouse, they had to lift some of their wages. They felt the pressure that even though it was just this one warehouse, now you got drives going on across the country. You've got not only ALU, you've got the Teamsters looking to organize Amazon as well. And so they're under pressure, feeling, all right, we got to do something to try to make our employees happier so that they don't choose to unionize, because we still, want to have total top-down control of what we've got going on here. So it isn't just the wages and benefits of union workers that are at stake here. It really does sort of set the pace for the entire industry and the entire economy. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.